Next guest served as Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister in the Chrétien government. We are turning to him right now to ask about this first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders. Lloyd Axworthy joins us in our Winnipeg studio. Hello to you, Mr. Axworthy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So we heard from John Baird, of course, also a former Foreign Affairs Minister himself, discussing this meeting between Trudeau and Trump. How should Prime Minister Trudeau approach this meeting?
Well, I think it's a business-like meeting. One of the some positive things is that this is not going to be part of a big ritual show in Washington. It's a couple of hours of get down to work. Let's take a look at issues. Let's get to know each other. And so I think the focus clearly has to be and will be on making sure that there is a mutual understanding of each other about the issues that are of concern, how we can work together on certain key issues. Do some thinking. I mean, clearly, the president is a man who's out of the box. I mean, there are not too many precedents that show exactly how to gauge his behavior or his response. But on the other hand, I think Justin Trudeau has showed a great capacity for being able to read people and to have that kind of empathy quotient that enables him to get along and to find the right words at the right time. So, I wouldn't build this up sort of as the summit of all summits, but I think it's a good opening step for the two to be able to set up lines of communication.
Now, there are those that have suggested that Trudeau should use this first meeting to perhaps express any concerns he may have with Trump policy in regards to, for example, immigration or refugees. What do you make of that suggestion?
Well, it will depend very much, I think, on how the conversation really evolves. The first round has to be just a kind of a let's state our case, let's talk about what we have in common, let's work out some of the hiccups that are there along the way, like the softwood lumber issue, and particularly focusing on the president's view about NAFTA. But I think if there's space, I mean, if the Prime Minister can read the President and can open up some space, he's got some interesting room. I mean, we are part of a North American entity, and there's going to be common interest in energy and environment and in migration. And there's no reasons why those can't be subjects of conversation. Those who are simply saying, let's play a one-note symphony, I think are making a mistake, because I think we have a Prime Minister who's capable of broadening out the agenda and at least opening up the lines of discussion and maybe sharing some views. Remember one thing, the Prime Minister will be going to Europe in a short while. A lot of those European leaders, especially Chancellor Merkel, will be very interested in Prime Minister Trudeau's take on the new president. So I think he's got an opportunity to kind of even sound out the president on what are the relationships, the North Atlantic, very important North Atlantic relationship. So I wouldn't put too much of a parameter or a harness on what the Prime Minister might want to talk about.
Now, to read through some of the opinion pages, through some of the comments being shared on social media, people note the fact that Trump is known as a hard negotiator, if not a bully. Trudeau not necessarily known for that. Do you think listening to that type of language almost handicaps Trudeau as he goes into this meeting?
Well, I don't know. He's been in the House of Commons for a while. He's been on the political hustings. I was here at a town hall in Winnipeg where he took some pretty hard knocks and was able to respond very well. I don't think that we should be following what was the Kevin Lynch line about Bambi. That is not Justin Trudeau. I can tell you, he's got a very good edge himself to what he believes in and what he wants to do. And so far, I think he's been able to stick on. So people are talking about, being on a fine, high-risk wire. I think it's more like playing hockey. He's a good stick handler as well.
Well, although you have said before that Canada needs to, or rather the Liberal government needs to rethink Canada's approach in dealing with the U.S. under a Trump presidency. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think to go back to one point, we are in a new reality that wasn't even apparent a couple of years ago. when the Harper government was here. So the things in Canada have changed. You have a new president who is kind of writing his own manual about how to be a president. You've got Russia, China, where there's a kind of so-called buildup of the sort of anti-West, anti-civilization kind of movements. All those things that have to be taken into account. And I think that's why the North American ROC is something that we need to focus on our relationships as an entity, because there's very crucial issues. Let me give one example. It doesn't come up very often, but we are facing very major questions and issues related to the Northern Arctic, which both the United States and Canada join in, as we do with the Europeans and with the Russians. The water is melting, the ships are coming, there's going to be a real push on for mineral development. Those are kind of things that, if you can get the president to connect with that, then those are the kinds of areas of discussion that the ministerial and diplomatic level can pick up and work with.
Well, it was suggested by an American journalist earlier today here on the network that perhaps what we're going to see tomorrow is some type of affirmation from Trump that trade with Canada is important, but perhaps in exchange for a comment that the United States can do what it will in terms of its travel ban. What do you make of that kind of speculation?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't think that's a trade-off that the Prime Minister could accept. I mean, he's already spoken out that Canada has a very different approach, and we're already feeling impacts on our own land borders. The number of people crossing on land is on an uptick because of the uncertainties of the travel ban, and if he rewrites his executive order and it makes it really more exclusive, then that's going to have a real impact on our own ability to maintain that kind of pluralism and diversity. Those are things that you don't want to get into in your first meeting, but you have to put as part of the checklist, something that is a potential area of major discussion, maybe even disagreement. And there's a chance, I think, for the Prime Minister to just make it clear that these issues have an impact on Canada, and that all we want is the opportunity to get in the door, to talk to the respective secretaries of cabinet in the United States, and to make sure that our interests are properly considered.
Mr. Axworthy, thanks so much for the time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And that is former Foreign Affairs Minister Lloyd Axworthy in Winnipeg.